Welcome back to Infidelity Tales Lab. We're incredibly grateful for your support. Before we begin today's tale, tell us, which city or country are you joining us from? We love connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1, Shattered Dreams. Mason Blackwood's fingers trembled as he held the manila envelope containing the divorce papers. The Seattle rain pelted against his office window at Blackwood Auto Repair, but he barely registered the sound. His world had imploded hours ago at Nouveau, where his wife of 5 years had delivered the news with all the warmth of an Arctic breeze. He pulled out the papers again, Diana's elegant signature already adorning the bottom line. The sight made his stomach churn. Grease-stained fingers left smudges on the pristine white paper. A fitting metaphor for their marriage, he thought bitterly. His simple, honest work had never been good enough for Diana's sophisticated tastes. The phone buzzed. Another message from Kyle Bennett, his friend at Seattle PD. Mason ignored it, his mind replaying the scene at Nouveau instead. He'd arrived straight from work, still wearing his navy coveralls with Blackwood Auto stitched across the back. The maitre d' had given him a disdainful look, but led him to the private booth anyway. There, he'd found Diana sitting with Warren Pierce, the luxury car magnate whose net worth could buy and sell Seattle twice over. Mason, Diana's voice had been carefully modulated, practiced. She'd been wearing the pearl necklace he'd saved 6 months to buy her for their anniversary. "We need to talk." Warren Pierce had watched their exchange with the amused detachment of a man accustomed to getting his way. His tailored suit probably cost more than Mason's monthly income. "This isn't working anymore," Diana had continued, twisting her wedding ring. The diamond caught the light, reminding Mason of the payment plans he'd juggled to afford it. "Warren understands my aspirations. He knows the kind of life I deserve." Mason had stared at his wife, searching for any trace of the woman who'd once loved spending Sunday afternoons in his garage, sketching while he worked on cars. The woman who'd been excited about building a life together, who'd promised to stand by him while he developed his hybrid engine designs. "Son," Warren had interjected, his voice dripping with false sympathy. "Sometimes we have to know when to let go of things beyond our station. Diana needs someone who can provide the lifestyle she deserves." Mason's phone buzzed again. This time, he picked it up. "Mace, you need to see this," Kyle's text read. "Coming over now." 20 minutes later, Kyle Bennett's police cruiser pulled up outside the shop. The detective looked uncomfortable as he handed Mason a thick folder. "I wouldn't show you these if you weren't my friend," Kyle said, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair. "But you deserve to know the truth." The folder contained surveillance photos. Diana and Warren at various restaurants over the past 6 months, entering hotels, shopping at exclusive boutiques. The timestamps told a story Mason hadn't wanted to believe. "They've been planning this, Maze," Kyle said quietly. "She was just waiting for the right moment." Mason's hands shook as he reached the last photo. It showed Diana at a luxury car dealership, handling paperwork. The date stamp was from 2 weeks ago. With growing dread, he walked to the back of his shop, where he'd kept his pride and joy, his father's vintage Mustang. The space was empty. "She sold it," Mason whispered, his voice hoarse. "My father's last gift." Kyle placed a hand on his shoulder. "There's more. You should check your bank accounts." Mason pulled up his banking app. The joint accounts he'd shared with Diana had been systematically drained over the past 3 months. Their savings, their investment portfolio, even the special account he'd set up for his hybrid engine project, all empty. "She can't do this," Mason said, his voice rising. "That money was for our future, for the business." "She had equal access to the accounts," Kyle reminded him gently. "Legally, she was within her rights." Mason slumped against his workbench, scattering tools across the concrete floor. The sound of metal hitting concrete echoed through the empty shop like a funeral bell. 5 years, he muttered. 5 years of marriage, and she was just waiting for a better offer. Kyle picked up a wrench and placed it back on the bench. "What are you going to do?" Mason stared at the empty space where his father's Mustang had stood. The car had been more than just a vehicle. It was his last connection to his father, who died in a factory accident before seeing his son's dreams of revolutionizing the automotive industry. "I don't know," Mason admitted. "Everything I've worked for, she took it all." Not everything, Kyle corrected. You still have your skills, your designs. And you have friends who won't let you go through this alone. Mason's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a notification from a local news app. Warren Pierce announces expansion of luxury vehicle line. The accompanying photo showed Warren and Diana at a press event, her hand resting possessively on his arm. She's already moved on, Mason said, his voice hollow. Like the last 5 years meant nothing. Kyle studied his friend's face. Maybe it's time you moved on too. But first, there's something else you should know. He pulled out another file. Warren Pierce isn't as clean as he appears. I've been working on a case. Before he could continue, Mason's shop phone rang. The caller ID showed Diana Blackwood. Mason stared at the phone, his heart pounding. After 5 rings, it went to voicemail. Mason, Diana's voice filled the shop. I know you're there. My lawyer will be contacting you about the rest of my things. Don't make this difficult. Warren's legal team. Well, just sign the papers, okay? It's better this way. You'll see that eventually. The message ended. Mason looked at the divorce papers on his bench, then at the surveillance photos scattered across the floor. You're right, he told Kyle. Tell me everything you know about Warren Pierce. In the distance, a police siren wailed, its mournful sound mixing with the rain. Mason Blackwood stood in his empty shop, surrounded by the wreckage of his marriage, and felt something shift inside him. The pain was still there, but something else was taking root, at the determination that would soon reshape the Seattle business world. Kyle opened a file and began to speak, unaware that he was helping to set in motion a chain of events that would destroy one of Seattle's most powerful men. Chapter 2. The Rise. The neon sign of O'Malley's Bar cast a sickly green glow across Mason's untouched whiskey. 3 weeks had passed since Diana's betrayal, and he'd spent most evenings here, nursing drinks and ignoring concerned looks from Mike, the bartender. You're my spot. Mason looked up to find a woman in a crumpled business suit glaring at him. Her lab coat was draped over one arm, and her ID badge identified her as Dr. Sarah Chun, lead researcher at TechCore Industries. There's plenty of other seats, Mason muttered. Not like this one. Sarah slid onto the stool next to him. Perfect angle to watch the game while ignoring whatever crisis drove you here. Mason studied her profile. Rough day, try rough year. She signaled Mike for a drink. Spent 18 months developing a new battery technology. My corporate overlords just shelved it because it might hurt their existing product line. That caught Mason's attention. Battery technology? Sarah took a long sip of her martini. Could revolutionize electric vehicles. Charge times reduced to minutes instead of hours. But apparently, innovation is too risky for TechCore shareholders. Mason pulled out his phone, opening a folder of technical drawings. What do you know about hybrid engines? Sarah's eyes widened as she scrolled through the designs. This is impressive. The integration system is unlike anything I've seen. Who designed these? I did. Mason watched her expression carefully. Been working on it for years, between repair jobs. You're an engineer? Mechanic. But I put myself through night school, got my degree while running my shop. Sarah handed back the phone, a thoughtful expression on her face. Your battery housing design needs work. But the core concept, that could change everything. Mason felt a spark of the passion that had driven him before Diana's betrayal. The housing was always the weak point. If I had access to better materials, I might know someone who could help with that. Sarah pulled out a business card, scribbling a number on the back. My father. He has connections in the materials science field. I can't afford. Stop. Sarah held up a hand. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about partnership. Your engine designs, my battery technology. We could build something together. Mason hesitated. I don't have startup capital. My wife, my ex-wife, she took everything. Mason, a booming voice interrupted them. Rafael Rafe Martinez, Mason's college roommate turned investment banker, pushed through the crowd. Finally found you, brother. Carmen's been worried sick. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Friend of yours? Best man at my wedding, Mason explained. Rafe, this is Dr. Sarah Chun. We were just discussing a business proposition. Rafe's eyes lit up. Business? What kind of business? Over the next hour, they talked possibilities. Rafe's expertise in finance added a practical framework to their technical dreams. By closing time, BlackTech Automotive had been born, at least in concept. It's risky, Rafe admitted as they left the bar. But I know people who invest in high-risk, high-reward ventures. Let me make some calls. Why would you do this? Mason asked. Your career. Because your family, Rafe said simply. And because Carmen would kill me if I didn't help. Come over for dinner tomorrow. No arguments. The next evening, Mason found himself in the Martinez's cozy apartment. Carmen, Rafe's wife, wrapped him in a fierce hug. You look terrible, she declared, leading him to the dining room. When was the last time you ate a proper meal? Over Carmen's legendary paella, they refined their plans. As a social worker, Carmen brought a unique perspective to their discussion. If you're building a company, she insisted, build it right. Worker welfare programs, family support systems. Show them you care about more than profits. She's right, Sarah added. I've seen what corporate greed does to innovation. We need to be different. The conversation was interrupted by Mason's phone. A news alert about Warren Pierce's latest acquisition caught his eye. That's the third small company he's absorbed this month, Rafe noted, reading over Mason's shoulder. Hostile takeover specialist. He finds promising businesses, then either buys them out or crushes them. Like he did with my marriage, Mason said bitterly. Carmen squeezed his hand. Then build something he can't crush. Something that will make him regret ever underestimating you. Their first breakthrough came faster than expected. Sarah's battery design, combined with Mason's engine innovations, produced results that exceeded their projections. The patent application alone attracted attention from major players in the industry. But success bred enemies. Warren Pierce, alerted to their rising star, began his campaign of destruction. Suppliers suddenly became reluctant to work with BlackTech. Rumors of battery fires circulated in industry publications. The attacks backfired when Kyle Bennett traced the rumors to one of Pierce's shell companies. The resulting fine for corporate defamation made headlines, drawing more attention to BlackTech's innovations. Then came the meeting that changed everything. Marcus Chun, Sarah's father and Warren's former partner, requested a private dinner with Mason. I've been watching your progress, Marcus said, studying Mason across the restaurant table. You've built something remarkable. We've been lucky, Mason started, but Marcus cut him off. Luck had nothing to do with it. You have vision, determination. But you're fighting a war without knowing the battlefield. Marcus spent the next hour revealing Warren Pierce's true nature. The stolen designs, the ruined lives, the pattern of destruction that had built his empire. He took everything from me, Marcus concluded. My designs, my reputation. I had proof, but not the resources to fight back. Now, I want to help you avoid my fate. Help how? Marcus smiled. By giving you something priceless. Detailed knowledge of Warren's operations, his weaknesses, his pressure points. Information I've spent years gathering. Why now? Because you've shown you can build something worthwhile. And because my daughter believes in you. Marcus leaned forward. Warren Pierce destroyed my legacy. Help me return the favor. Mason stared at the elaborate diagram Marcus had drawn on a napkin, showing Warren's business connections and vulnerabilities. When do we start? Marcus's eyes gleamed. We already have. Chapter 3. The game begins. The Seattle Technology Conference buzzed with activity, but Mason's attention was fixed on one person, a young woman studying BlackTech's display with unusual intensity. Something about her posture, her calculated observation, set off warning bells. Impressive technology, she said when he approached. Your charging system could revolutionize the industry. Assuming my father doesn't destroy it first. Mason tensed. Your father? Warren Pierce. She extended her hand. Sophia Reynolds. I changed my name when I was 18. Rather not be associated with him. Mason studied her face, noting the subtle resemblances to Warren. Why are you here? Because I've spent years watching him destroy people's lives. Sophia's voice carried years of suppressed anger. He did the same to my mother when I was 12. Used her, discarded her, then crushed her attempts to start over. They moved to a quieter corner of the conference hall. Sophia revealed Warren's pattern. identifying promising businesses, then systematically destroying them through a combination of corporate tactics and personal manipulation. The wives and daughters are his favorite targets, Sophia explained. He sees them as accessories to be acquired. Your ex-wife Diana? She's just the latest in a long line. Mason's phone buzzed with a text from Jessica Winters, the private investigator he'd hired on Marcus Chen's recommendation. Found something big. Meeting needed. I have to go, Mason told Sophia. But I'd like to continue this conversation. I'll be in touch, Sophia promised. Just remember, with my father, everything is personal. He doesn't just want to win. He wants to break people. Jessica was waiting in a private room at the conference center, her laptop open to a complex diagram of shell companies. Your friend Marcus was right, she said without preamble. Warren Pierce is vulnerable. I've uncovered a network of shell companies he uses to hide assets and avoid taxes. She pulled up documents showing a pattern of suspicious transactions. But that's not the biggest find. I've identified other victims, 3 ex-wives and numerous ruined business owners across the country. They're all willing to talk. Good work. Mason scrolled through the files. What about Diana? Jessica's expression softened slightly. She's discovering that her perfect new life isn't so perfect. Warren controls everything. Her clothes, her friends, her schedule. The art curator position she wanted? He shut that down immediately. She's meant to be an ornament, nothing more. Mason remembered Diana's passion for art, her dreams of running her own gallery. She tried contacting old friends? Karma Martinez blocked her number. Jessica confirmed. Most of your old social circle has chosen sides. They remember how she behaved during the divorce. Their discussion was interrupted by another text, this time from Sarah Chun. Emergency. Pierce Motors just announced competing charging technology. Mason smiled. Right on schedule. The Seattle Automotive Innovation Summit became the perfect stage for Mason's first major move. BlackTech unveiled their revolutionary charging network concept, demonstrating how it could make electric vehicles practical for long-distance travel. Warren Pierce, watching from the audience, publicly dismissed the technology as fantasy. But Marcus Chen's industry contacts reported that Pierce Motors' R&D department had been ordered to develop competing technology immediately. Then came Mason's masterstroke. Through Marcus's connections, he hired Laura Kincaid, Warren's former R&D director. She'd quit after being passed over for promotion in favor of Warren's golf buddy. He'll regret that decision, Laura said during her first meeting with the BlackTech team. She spread out detailed documents showing Pierce Motors' technical limitations and future plans. They're at least 2 years behind in key areas. And with the patents you've secured. The culmination of Act One's opening moves came when Warren requested a meeting to discuss potential collaboration. Mason chose to host the meeting in his newly renovated office, the transformed garage where he'd once worked on cars while Diana complained about their lifestyle. Warren arrived 15 minutes early, likely expecting to throw Mason off balance. Instead, he found Mason calmly reviewing technical specifications with Sarah Chun and Laura Kincaid. Quite a change from your mechanic's shop, Warren observed, his practiced smile failing to hide his discomfort at being in Mason's territory. Mason gestured to the sleek conference room, where his father's tools had been artfully incorporated into the modern design. I believe in remembering where we came from. Please have a seat. Laura's presence clearly rattled Warren. His eyes kept darting to his former R&D director as she efficiently presented BlackTech as technical advantages. Your charging network patents, Warren finally said, cutting through the presentation. We could make a mutually beneficial arrangement. Like the arrangements you made with Marcus Chun? Mason asked quietly. Or perhaps like your arrangement with my ex-wife? Warren's facade cracked slightly. That's ancient history. Business is business. Exactly, Mason agreed. And our business isn't for sale. But thank you for confirming our patents are as valuable as we thought. The meeting ended abruptly when Sarah announced that BlackTech had just secured exclusive rights to a revolutionary battery component. One Pierce Motors had been negotiating for months. As Warren stormed out, Mason noticed a text from Jessica Winters. Diana spotted at 3 art galleries today. All turned her away. She's getting desperate. He's scared, Laura observed after Warren left. I've never seen him like that. Good, Mason replied, studying the Seattle skyline from his office window. Because we're just getting started. The view reminded him of darker days, standing in his old garage, watching Diana drive away in Warren's luxury car. Now, he stood in a different position, with a team of brilliant minds and a clear path to justice. Sarah touched his arm gently. The board meeting is in an hour. Ready to announce our expansion plans? Mason nodded, turning away from the window. The first phase of his plan was complete. He'd built something Warren couldn't simply crush or buy. Now came the real challenge, systematically dismantling the empire Warren Pierce had built on stolen dreams and broken lives. Let's give them something to talk about, he said, picking up his presentation folder. Inside were the final pieces of Act 1 strategy, patents, innovations, and partnerships that would force Warren to play defense for the first time in his career. As Mason headed to the boardroom, surrounded by his loyal team, he felt a sense of purpose he'd lost during those rain-soaked days of betrayal. Diana had chosen her path, trading love for luxury. Warren had chosen his, building an empire on others' destruction. Now it was Mason's turn to make choices, and his would shake Seattle's business world to its core. Chapter 4: Countermoves. Trevor Nash adjusted his Italian silk tie as he strode into Warren Pierce's office. The corporate fixer had built his reputation on destroying companies through carefully orchestrated media campaigns, and Pierce Motors was paying him handsomely for this particular takedown. Tell me you have something, Warren demanded, not looking up from his computer screen. Better than something. Nash placed a tablet on Warren's desk. We've identified a vulnerability in BlackTech's battery design. Under extreme conditions, there's a minimal risk of thermal events. Warren finally looked up, his eyes gleaming. Minimal risk? Technically, their safety margins exceed industry standards, Nash admitted. But public perception is everything. I've already planted the seeds with key tech journalists. Make it happen faster, Warren snapped. Mason Blackwood's little startup is costing me contracts. Nash studied his client's face, noting the signs of strain around his eyes. Warren Pierce wasn't used to being on the defensive, and it showed. The media campaign launched the next morning. Headlines questioned BlackTech's safety testing protocols. Anonymous industry experts raised concerns about the company's rapid expansion. Mason's response caught them both off guard. Instead of issuing defensive statements, BlackTech released comprehensive safety test results, showing standards far exceeding anything in the industry. Laura Kincaid, their R&D director, went public with documented evidence of safety issues Pierce Motors had covered up in their latest luxury model. Sir, Warren's secretary interrupted his rage-filled meeting with Nash. The National Transportation Safety Board is on line 1. They're asking about the safety concerns Ms. Kincaid raised. Warren hurled his coffee mug against the wall. Get our lawyers and find out who leaked those documents to Kincaid. Nash watched the chaos unfold with growing unease. His usual tactics weren't working against BlackTech's transparency approach. Worse, the investigation into Pierce Motors' safety records was gaining momentum. In Seattle's social circles, Diana Pierce attempted damage control. She gave an exclusive interview to Seattle Society magazine, painting Mason as an obsessed ex-husband who couldn't move on. Warren gave me the confidence to break free, Diana told the interviewer, showcasing her new diamond bracelet. Mason just couldn't accept that I needed more than oil changes and empty promises. The interview backfired spectacularly when Kyle Bennett leaked security footage to social media. The video showed Diana selling Mason's father's Mustang to Warren while Mason worked late at his shop. The timestamp matched the night he'd been finalizing his hybrid engine designs. Public sympathy shifted dramatically. Comments flooded social media. She sold his dead father's car while he was working. Talk about betrayal. Pierce Motors built on stolen cars and stolen wives. Warren's next strategy targeted BlackTech as human resources. He hired Blake Sullivan, a corporate headhunter known for poaching key employees from rising tech companies. Dr. Chun, Sullivan said smoothly, meeting Sarah at a coffee shop near BlackTech's headquarters. Pierce Motors is prepared to triple your current salary. Plus stock options, of course. Sarah took a slow sip of her latte. Interesting offer. Mind if I record our conversation? For clarity's sake. Sullivan's practiced smile faltered. I don't think that's necessary. No. Sarah placed her phone on the table, already recording. Because I'd love to document how Pierce Motors attempts to steal talent when they can't develop it themselves. The recording went viral in tech circles, accompanied by a press release announcing BlackTech's new employee stock ownership program. Warren's poaching attempts became a running joke in the industry. Warren's desperation peaked when he tried to block BlackTech's access to rare earth materials. He leveraged his connections with suppliers, threatening to pull Pierce Motors contracts if they worked with BlackTech. Sir, his supply chain director interrupted his self-congratulatory moment. We have a problem. BlackTech just announced a partnership with 3 major Asian suppliers. They've secured exclusive rights to next-generation materials. Warren's hand shook as he pulled up Pierce Motors' stock ticker. The company's value had dropped 15% in a single day. How? He demanded. How do they know to secure those suppliers? The answer came in a photo texted from an unknown number. Marcus Chun shaking hands with Asian business executives, the BlackTech logo prominently displayed behind them. Nash watched Warren's reaction carefully. There's something else. BlackTech just filed patents for technologies we've been developing in secret. Somehow, they knew exactly what we were working on. Warren's face reddened. Find the leak. I want everyone in R&D investigated. Sir, Nash said carefully, maybe it's time to consider a different approach. Mason Blackwood seems to be anticipating our moves. Because he's obsessed. Warren slammed his fist on his desk. He can't accept that Diana chose me. That his little garage couldn't compete with what I offer. Nash glanced at the stock ticker again. With all due respect, sir, his little garage is now worth more than Pierce Motors' entire electric vehicle division. As if to punctuate his point, Warren's phone buzzed with a news alert. BlackTech announces revolutionary charging network expansion. Pierce Motors stock continues to fall. In his mansion that evening, Warren found Diana in their private gallery, staring at an empty wall where her favorite painting had hung. I had to sell it, he said curtly. Stock fluctuations. Temporary setback. Diana touched the wall's bare space. Like you sold Mason's Mustang? Warren grabbed her arm. Don't say his name in my house. Diana pulled away, her bracelet catching the light. You promised me an art gallery of my own. When things stabilize, Warren snapped. Right now, I need you focused on maintaining our social position. The charity gala next week. They rescinded our invitation, Diana interrupted. Apparently, the committee felt our presence might make other guests uncomfortable. Warren's phone buzzed again. Nash's message made his blood run cold. Emergency. Laura Kincaid went public with more documents. Board wants an emergency meeting tomorrow. In his home office, Warren pulled up BlackTech's latest press release. Mason's quote seemed to mock him directly. Innovation isn't about destroying competition. It's about building something that makes the world better. Warren hurled his phone across the room, Diana's quiet steps retreating down the hallway providing a soft counterpoint to his rage. Chapter 5. The Unraveling. Carmen Martinez stood at the podium, her social worker's passion evident as she announced BlackTech's latest initiative. The Future Artist Program will provide full scholarships and mentoring to underprivileged youth interested in arts and technology, she declared to the assembled press. We believe in nurturing creativity alongside innovation. In the audience, Diana Pierce gripped her program until her knuckles whitened. The art world had been her sanctuary, her dream of becoming a curator predating her marriage to Mason. Now, Carmen, who had once been her close friend, was launching exactly the kind of program she had begged Warren to fund. Ms. Martinez. A reporter raised his hand. Will the program include the gallery space BlackTech recently acquired? Yes, Carmen smiled. The former Galleria space will be converted into a combination art gallery and technology innovation center. Diana's breath caught. The Galleria had been her dream job, the curator position she'd been pursuing before Warren dismissed it as beneath their status. After the presentation, Diana approached Carmen. That's my program, she said, her voice tight. I told you about this idea years ago. Carmen looked at her former friend. Ideas mean nothing without action, Diana. You chose wealth over dreams. How's that working out? Before Diana could respond, Jessica Winters materialized beside them, her photographer documenting Diana's obvious distress. Mrs. Pierce, Jessica said professionally, care to comment on the allegations about your husband's involvement in the Romano design theft? Diana retreated, her Louboutin heels clicking rapidly across the marble floor. In the ladies' room, she found herself staring at her reflection, remembering different marble floors, the modest bathroom in her first apartment with Mason, where they'd planned their future over takeout dinners and shared dreams. Meanwhile, across town, Isabella Romano was meeting with Mason and his team. The Italian journalist spread out decades-old design documents on the conference table. These were my father's original drawings, she explained, her accent thickening with emotion. Warren Pierce stole them 20 years ago, used them to build his first luxury model. Sarah Chun examined the blueprints. These innovations, they're still relevant. Some of these solutions are more elegant than current designs. My father was a genius, Isabella said quietly. After Warren stole his work, nobody would believe him. The stress. She paused. They called it suicide, but we all knew the truth. Mason studied the documents. We can prove Pierce stole these. Better. Isabella pulled out a USB drive. I found my father's original prototypes. They're still in our family's workshop in Italy. All the documentation, all the development logs. Warren missed them because they were hidden in a false wall. Laura Kincaid's eyes lit up. With this evidence, we could invalidate Pierce Motors' foundational patents. The meeting was interrupted by Sophia's arrival. You need to see this, she announced, pulling up a video on her tablet. The footage showed Warren Pierce at a charity gala, confronting his second ex-wife Victoria. The exchange had been captured by multiple smartphones. You've been talking to that Winters woman, Warren accused, his public mask slipping. Victoria's response was calm, calculated. Just sharing memories, Warren. Like how you blocked my therapy practice after our divorce. Or how you threatened my patients to force me out of Seattle. The video had already gone viral, spawning hundreds of memes and commentary threads. Diana's social media accounts were flooded with warnings and sympathy messages from strangers. My mother went through this too, Sophia said, her voice hard. He isolates them, controls them, then discards them when they stop being useful. Mason's phone buzzed with a text from Kyle Bennett. Diana spotted at 3 different psychiatrists this week. She's starting to crack. The pressure on Warren mounted from multiple directions. Trevor Nash's smear campaign backfired when black tech employees began sharing stories of the company's supportive work environment and innovative policies. We have unlimited mental health leave, one engineer told Tech Insider. When my daughter was diagnosed with autism, Black Tech arranged for specialized care and flexible hours. The contrast with Pierce Motors' corporate culture became stark. Former employees came forward with stories of toxic management and covered up safety issues. Isabella Romano's investigation gained momentum. European automotive journalists began questioning the origins of Pierce Motors' signature technologies. Warren's attempts to dismiss the allegations as ancient history only fueled speculation. Diana's public appearances became increasingly erratic. At a gallery opening, she loudly criticized an installation piece, only to break down crying when someone mentioned it resembled work she'd once created in Mason's garage. She's self-destructing, Carmen reported to Mason after witnessing the incident. Just like Warren's other ex-wives. Mason's response surprised her. Make sure she knows about the mental health resources in our employee program. Anonymous access. After what she did to you, Mason stared out at the Seattle skyline. What Warren's doing to her, nobody deserves that. The situation reached a breaking point during a Pierce Motors board meeting. When a director suggested exploring a partnership with Black Tech to salvage their position, Warren snapped. Partnership? He knocked over his water glass. They're thieves. They've stolen our innovations, our contracts, our innovations. The director raised an eyebrow. Like the Romano designs you stole? Warren lunged across the table. Security footage of the altercation leaked within hours, accompanied by statements from shocked board members. In his office that evening, Mason received an unexpected call. Diana's number appeared on his screen for the first time since the divorce. Mason, her voice was barely a whisper. I need help. Before he could respond, Warren's voice bellowed in the background. The call disconnected. Mason stared at his phone, then pressed a button. Kyle, I need you to check on Diana. Something's wrong. The chapter ended with twin developments. Warren discovering his private art collection had been seized as collateral for mounting legal fees, and Diana learning that her access to their joint accounts had been restricted, a cruel mirror of what she had once done to Mason. Chapter 6. The Pressure Points. Rafe Martinez adjusted his tie as he entered the offices of Pierce Motors' largest creditor. The banker's smile held a predatory edge as he shook hands with the loan committee. Gentlemen, he began, I'm here to discuss some concerning patterns in Pierce Motors' financial reports. Back at Black Tech headquarters, Mason watched the financial markets react. Warren's carefully constructed house of cards began to wobble as creditors discovered the creative accounting that had hidden massive losses. He's selling assets, Jessica Winters reported, placing photographs on Mason's desk. The car collection is being liquidated piece by piece. Mason picked up a photo of his father's Mustang, now sitting in Warren's private showroom. Any buyers lined up? Not yet. Jessica's smile was sharp. Apparently, someone leaked the car's history. Nobody wants to be seen purchasing stolen property. The pressure campaign expanded on multiple fronts. Black Tech's legal team, armed with Isabella Romano's evidence, began challenging Pierce Motors' core patents. European regulators launched investigations into the company's safety certifications. Warren's personal life crumbled in parallel with his business empire. At a charity event, Diana made a desperate play to salvage her position. Remember us? She whispered to Mason in a quiet corner, her hand on his arm. We could work together again. Like before. Mrs. Pierce, Jessica Winters emerged from the shadows, camera in hand. Fascinating choice of evening entertainment. Diana fled, but the damage was done. Warren's reaction to the photos was explosive. You think I didn't know? He raged at Diana in their mansion. You think I didn't see you throwing yourself at him? Warren, please. No more access, he snarled. No more credit cards, no more shopping. You want to act like a gold digger? Live like one. The irony of the situation. Diana experiencing the same financial cutoff she had once inflicted on Mason wasn't lost on Seattle social circles. Meanwhile, Mason's team executed their masterpiece. The European manufacturing deal Warren desperately needed was approached from multiple angles. Ms. Reynolds, the European executives welcomed Sophia warmly. Your analysis of the American market is impressive. Sophia, her connection to Warren's still secret, dismantled Pierce Motors' proposal point by point. Her intimate knowledge of her father's business practices proved devastating. Their financial projections assumed continued access to patented technologies, she explained. Technologies they may lose rights to very soon. The executives exchanged worried glances. One pulled up recent news about the Romano patent challenges on his tablet. Trevor Nash watched these developments with growing concern. His own position had become untenable as Warren's behavior became more erratic. Then Mason made his move. Mr. Nash. Mason's voice on the phone was calm. I understand your son's treatment center is struggling with insurance approvals. Nash froze. How did you? Black Tech's employee healthcare program includes comprehensive coverage for autism spectrum disorders. No questions asked, no approval delays. The choice was clear. Nash provided detailed evidence of Warren's corporate espionage attempts, including recorded conversations and email trails. Warren's last alliance crumbled during the shareholders' meeting. Mason's presentation was meticulous, documenting decades of corruption and stolen innovations. This company was built on theft, Mason concluded. From Marcus Chun, from Antonio Romano, from countless others whose dreams Warren Pierce stole. Warren's eruption became instant media fodder. As security dragged him away from Mason, smartphones captured his incoherent threats and accusations. Diana, watching from the audience, saw her carefully constructed world dissolve. Her attempts to approach Mason afterward were blocked by Sarah Chun and Carmen Martinez. "You chose your side," Carmen reminded her. "Now you get to watch from the outside, just like Mason once did." But Mason's true masterstroke remained hidden. Through shell companies and quiet investigations, his team had discovered Warren's systematic embezzlement from Pierce Motors Pension Fund. Rather than expose this immediately, Mason began buying up the troubled assets, positioning Black Tech to become the savior of thousands of retirement accounts, while ensuring Warren would face criminal charges for his actions. The act concluded with Warren alone in his office, staring at his empire's collapse. On his desk, divorce papers waited for Diana's signature, a mirror of the scene that had started it all in Mason's garage. Outside, Mason's position had transformed from victim to victor. His team gathered in Black Tech's conference room, reviewing the final stages of Act 2 strategy. "The pension fund evidence is irrefutable," Rafe reported, spreading documents across the table. Warren diverted millions into personal accounts through a complex network of offshore entities. Sarah Chun studied the financial diagrams. "How many employees are affected?" "Thousands," Rafe replied. "Lifetime savings, retirement plans, all at risk because of his greed." Mason absorbed this information, remembering his own father's years of factory work. "What's the timeline for acquiring the troubled assets?" "We can move within days," Rafe confirmed. "The paperwork is ready. Once we secure the pension fund assets, Warren's criminal actions become impossible to hide." Laura Kincaid entered the room, her expression grim. "Pierce Motors board is an emergency session. They're discussing a vote of no confidence." "Perfect timing," Jessica Winters added, joining them. Victoria's revelations about Warren's past behavior have gone viral. 3 more ex-business partners have come forward with similar stories. Kyle Bennett's text message completed the picture. Diana spotted meeting with divorce attorneys. She's finally making her move. Mason stood at the conference room window, watching Seattle's tech district bustle below. The same streets where he'd once worked as a struggling mechanic now housed his expanding empire. Behind him, his team, friends who'd become family, waited for his next decision. "Initiate the pension fund acquisition," he instructed Rafe. "But keep our involvement quiet for now. When the employees learn their retirement savings are at risk, they should see Black Tech as their salvation, not their adversary." Carmen Martinez nodded approvingly. "We'll announce expanded retirement benefits for all Black Tech employees tomorrow." The contrast with Pierce Motors' situation will be impossible to ignore. The meeting concluded with each team member knowing their role in the endgame. Warren Pierce's destruction would come not from a single blow, but from the calculated dismantling of everything he'd built through decades of corruption and betrayal. As the others filed out, Sophia remained behind. "You know he won't go quietly," she warned. "When my father feels cornered, he becomes dangerous." "That's exactly what we're counting on," Mason replied. His public meltdown completes the narrative. The tyrant brought down by his own hubris. The city lights began to twinkle as dusk settled over Seattle. In his restored office, once a humble garage where dreams of innovation were born, Mason Blackwood reviewed the pieces of his strategy. Warren's empire was crumbling, Diana was facing the consequences of her choices, and Black Tech had emerged as a force for positive change in the industry. Act 2's curtain fell as Mason received one final text from Kyle. Warren just received the federal subpoenas. "It's starting." The stage was set for the final act of Mason's revenge, but that would be another chapter for another day. Chapter 7: The Fall of Kings. The Global Automotive Innovation Gala transformed Seattle's convention center into a showcase of technological marvels. Warren and Diana Pierce arrived in their signature style, him in a custom tuxedo, her draped in silk. They moved through the crowd like royalty, but observant guests noticed the strain beneath their practiced smiles. Warren Pierce, a member of the awards committee, greeted them. "We place you at table 3. The ceremony begins in 30 minutes. Warren's grip tightened on his champagne glass. Table 3, not the customary head table where he'd sat for the past decade. Diana touched his arm in warning as his face reddened. This year's Innovator of the Year, the committee member continued, will be presented by a special guest, Isabella Romano. The name hit Warren like a physical blow. He watched Isabella take the stage, her presence a living reminder of his past sins. The daughter of the man whose designs he'd stolen now commanded the attention of the entire automotive world. Innovation isn't just about creating something new, Isabella began, her Italian accent adding weight to her words. It's about integrity, about building on honest foundations. Her eyes found Warren in the crowd, something my father understood deeply. The audience shifted uncomfortably, aware of the recent revelations about Pierce Motors' history of design theft. Warren reached for another champagne flute as Isabella continued. This year's recipient represents everything the industry should aspire to be. Please welcome Mason Blackwood of Black Tech Automotive. The applause was deafening. Mason approached the podium with the quiet confidence of a man who had earned his success. His acceptance speech never mentioned Warren or Pierce Motors directly, but each word about innovation and integrity struck like arrows. Diana's hand trembled as she set down her glass. The society wives who had once competed for her attention now pointedly ignored her presence. She watched Mason shake hands with Isabella Romano, remembering how she'd once dismissed his dreams as mere grease monkey fantasies. The ceremony's carefully orchestrated humiliation continued through dessert. Multiple news outlets began pushing notifications about a breaking story: the FBI's investigation into Pierce Motors' pension fund manipulation. Warren Pierce. Reporters materialized around their table, phones recording. Any comment on the federal investigation into missing pension funds? Diana saw something snap in Warren's eyes. He surged to his feet, but before he could speak, federal agents appeared with search warrants. "Mr. Pierce, we need you to come with us," the lead agent announced, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "We have some questions about certain financial transactions." Victoria, Warren's second ex-wife, chose this moment to approach Diana. Her expression carried perfectly calculated sympathy. "Oh, darling," Victoria said, her voice carrying to nearby tables. "I know exactly what you're going through. The first federal investigation is always the hardest." Diana stared at her untouched creme brulee, remembering another dessert, the simple tiramisu she and Mason had shared on their first anniversary, planning their future in their tiny apartment. She'd traded that honest love for luxury, and now both were slipping through her fingers. Mason's team watched the scene unfold from their table. Sarah Chun leaned close to him, speaking softly. "The pension fund evidence being delivered to prosecutors as we speak," Mason confirmed. Rafe handled the timing perfectly. Jessica Winters appeared beside them, showing Mason her phone. "You want to see this?" Diana's social media accounts are imploding. Society wives unfollowing her en masse. "The network effect is fascinating," Carmen Martinez observed. "The same social connections that elevated her are now orchestrating her fall." The gala's climax arrived with Mason's announcement of Black Tech's latest triumph, a nationwide network of solar-powered charging stations that would revolutionize electric vehicle infrastructure. The project's scale and innovation made Pierce Motors' recent initiatives look primitive by comparison. Warren, still dealing with federal agents, watched helplessly as investors who had once courted his favor now clustered around Mason. The stock trading apps on guest phones showed Pierce Motors' value plummeting in real time. Trevor Nash, Warren's former fixer, approached Mason's table. "Mr. Blackwood." A moment. Mason nodded to his security team, allowing Nash to sit. The man looked uncomfortable in his expensive suit, his usual smoothness replaced by genuine concern. "The evidence I provided," Nash began. "Warren knows it came from me. He's threatening to reveal certain information about board members." "Let him," Mason replied calmly. "We've documented everything since you joined our side. His threats will only add witness intimidation to his charges." As if on cue, Warren's voice rose above the crowd. "This is a conspiracy," he shouted, shrugging off the federal agent's restraining hands. Pierce Motors is too big to fail. Diana slipped away during her husband's meltdown, her heels clicking rapidly across the marble floor. In the ladies' room, she found herself alone with Sarah Chun. "Don't," Sarah said simply, blocking Diana's attempt to leave. "Whatever you're thinking of saying to Mason, don't." "You don't understand," Diana began. "Actually, I do." Sarah's voice was calm but firm. "You saw the tide turning and thought you could switch sides again. But this isn't about sides anymore. This is about justice." Back in the main hall, Warren's public meltdown reached its peak. He lunged at Mason, only to be tackled by security guards as smartphones recorded from all angles. Diana emerged from the restroom in time to see her husband being escorted out in handcuffs. "Mrs. Pierce," a young reporter approached her. "Would you like to comment on your involvement in the sale of stolen automotive designs to Pierce Motors during your previous marriage?" Diana's perfect mask cracked. The evidence Jessica Winters had gathered showed her complicity in Warren's schemes, selling corporate information even before her divorce from Mason. She turned to flee but found herself facing Carmen and Sarah. The women who had once been her friends now stood as representatives of everything she had betrayed. "You chose your side," Carmen reminded her, echoing words from earlier confrontations. "Now you get to watch from the outside." The chapter ended with a series of rapid developments. Pierce Motors stock suspended trading, Warren under federal investigation, and Diana's social media accounts flooded with unfollowing notifications. The king and queen of Seattle's business world had fallen, their crown shattered by the very man they had once dismissed as beneath their station. Chapter 8. Sweet Revenge. Rafe Martinez straightened his tie as he entered the Pierce Motors emergency board meeting. Through a complex web of shell companies, Black Tech had quietly acquired a controlling interest in their rival company. Today was the reveal. "Gentlemen," Rafe addressed the anxious board members, "in light of recent events, we need to discuss changes in leadership." The boardroom's tension ratcheted higher as Sophia entered. She wore a sharp business suit and a confident smile that suddenly seemed very familiar to the men who had known her father. "Allow me to properly introduce myself," she began. "My name is Sophia Pierce Reynolds. Some of you knew my father well." The revelation hit the board like a thunderbolt. Warren's daughter, whom he had effectively erased from the company's history, now stood before them with detailed documentation of his mismanagement. "Over the past decade," Sophia continued, displaying charts and financial records, "Pierce Motors has systematically destroyed innovation in favor of theft and market manipulation. My presentation today outlines the path forward." In another part of the city, Diana faced her own reckoning. Her attempt to salvage her position through an offer to testify against Warren backfired spectacularly when Mason's lawyers presented evidence of her own complicity. "Mrs. Pierce," Mason's lead attorney explained, sliding documents across the table, "we have proof you sold confidential information to Warren during your marriage to Mr. Blackwood. This includes technical specifications, client lists, and prototype designs." Diana's expensive makeup couldn't hide her pallor. "I didn't understand what I was giving him." "The timestamps on these emails suggest otherwise," the lawyer countered. "You actively sought out specific documents Warren requested." The evidence destroyed Diana's remaining credibility. The society blogs that had once chronicled her rise now gleefully documented her fall, complete with screenshots of her desperate attempts to maintain connections with Seattle's elite. Meanwhile, Dr. Sarah Chen's team chose this moment to announce their latest breakthrough. The new battery technology made Black Tech's systems even more efficient, pushing the company's stock to record highs, while Pierce Motors' value continued to plummet. Laura Kincaid, orchestrating from her position as Black Tech's Chief Innovation Officer, launched the final phase of their talent acquisition strategy. She had spent months identifying Pierce Motors' most valuable engineers and designers. "Your skills are wasted here," she told a group of senior engineers. "Black Tech offers not just better pay, but the chance to work on genuine innovation. No more copying designs, no more cutting corners on safety." The exodus began immediately. Entire development teams resigned en masse, their departure coordinated for maximum impact. Warren, under house arrest and stripped of his executive authority, could only watch through news reports as his company's intellectual capital walked away. Mason's revenge plan revealed its true sophistication in the details. Each move had been calculated not just to destroy Warren's empire, but to rebuild something better in its place. The pension fund acquisition is complete, Rafe reported during a late-night strategy session. We've secured the retirement savings of thousands of employees. And the Romano family? Mason asked. Isabella has agreed to join our European advisory board, Sarah confirmed. Her father's designs will finally benefit their rightful owners. The transformation of Pierce Motors began with Sophia's appointment as CEO of the newly renamed Legacy Motors. The subsidiary would focus on converting classic luxury cars to electric power, combining automotive heritage with cutting-edge technology. Our first project, Sophia announced to enthusiastic media coverage, will be this 1967 Mustang. The car in question, Mason's father's restored vehicle, stood gleaming on the presentation stage, symbolizing the bridge between past and future. Marcus Chun, watching from the audience, nodded in approval. His years of gathering evidence against Warren had finally borne fruit, helping to dismantle the empire built on stolen innovations. Warren's attempts to fight back grew increasingly desperate. His threats to reveal compromising information about board members fizzled when Trevor Nash's evidence showed a pattern of witness intimidation stretching back decades. Diana discovered the full extent of her isolation when she attempted to access their joint accounts. Warren had moved everything into his name months ago, leaving her with nothing but expensive habits and a ruined reputation. Victoria, proving that revenge was a dish best served cold, organized a society-wide boycott of Diana's attempt to auction her wardrobe. The same luxury items that had once symbolized her rise now became emblems of her fall. You didn't just betray Mason, Victoria told her during a chance encounter at their former country club. You betrayed yourself. All those dreams of running an art gallery, of making your own mark, you traded them for what? A bigger cage. The symmetry of Mason's revenge became clear as each piece fell into place. Through the Black Tech Foundation, he acquired the art gallery where Diana had once dreamed of working. The space was transformed into an innovation center for young engineers, with Diana's intended office becoming a bustling workshop. Warren, confined to his mansion by court order, watched news coverage of his former empire's transformation. Each announcement from Legacy Motors or Black Tech drove home the completeness of his defeat. The evidence Marcus Chun and Isabella Romano presented in their joint lawsuit proved devastating. Decades of design theft were laid bare, supported by Trevor Nash's meticulous records. Warren's attempts to flee the country were thwarted by Kyle Bennett's vigilant monitoring. Chapter 9. The New Kingdom. The transformation of Pierce Motors into Legacy Motors marked more than a simple rebranding. Under Sophia's leadership, the company began converting classic luxury cars to electric power, preserving their heritage while embracing the future. Mason's father's Mustang became the flagship project, its restoration showcasing the perfect blend of traditional craftsmanship and cutting-edge technology. The car's unveiling at Legacy Motors headquarters drew automotive enthusiasts from around the world. This isn't just about converting classic cars, Sophia explained to the assembled press. It's about redeeming our industry's legacy. Each vehicle tells a story of innovation, properly credited and honestly achieved. Isabella Romano's role in Black Tech's European expansion proved crucial. Her father's old connections, combined with her own reputation as a journalist, opened doors that had been closed to American companies. My father believed in innovation that served humanity, Isabella told a gathering of European investors. Black Tech and Legacy Motors embody that vision. The Innovation Future Fund, managed by Carmen Martinez, provided scholarships to engineering students from underprivileged backgrounds. The fund's first major donation came from an unexpected source: the proceeds from Warren's C's car collection. We're not just building companies, Carmen explained during the scholarship announcement. We're building futures. Each student represents a dream that deserves support, not exploitation. The Seattle Business Leadership Awards became the stage for the story's culmination. Mason, named CEO of the Year, took the podium while Warren and Diana watched from the audience, their presence required by the terms of Warren's bail. "Innovation isn't about destroying competitors," Mason said, his voice carrying to the farthest corners of the hall. "It's about building something that makes the world better. Each of us has a choice, to create or to take, to lift others up or to push them down." Diana's champagne glass slipped from her trembling fingers as Mason's words hit home. She remembered making those choices, step by step, betraying not just her husband but her own dreams. The final twist in Mason's revenge proved to be the most elegant. The BlackTech Foundation's acquisition of Diana's Dream Gallery space transformed it into an innovation center where young engineers could develop their ideas. "The space has good bones," Sarachin commented during the center's opening, "though I think we'll get more use out of it than another luxury art gallery." Mason's empire continued to grow, built on genuine innovation and employee loyalty. He found unexpected satisfaction in mentoring young entrepreneurs, helping them avoid the pitfalls he had encountered. The sight of students working in what had once been Diana's intended office brought a particular kind of poetic justice. Warren, facing multiple federal indictments, could only watch from house arrest as his former empire became a force for positive change. Diana, unable to maintain her luxury lifestyle, eventually relocated to a small town in Nevada, where locals knew her only as another failed socialite. The story became legend in Seattle business circles, not just for its dramatic inclusion, but for how Mason had turned personal betrayal into an opportunity to reshape an entire industry. His revenge wasn't just about destroying Warren and Diana's world. It was about building something better from the ashes of their betrayal. Mason's new office at BlackTech Tower offered a clear view of his old garage workshop. He kept a framed photo of that garage on his wall, a reminder that success was the sweetest revenge. The restored Mustang, now powered by BlackTech's most advanced electric system, sat in a place of honor in the building's lobby, a testament to how far he had come and how completely he had won. Epilogue. 5 years later. The Seattle skyline had changed dramatically in the 5 years since Warren Pierce's downfall. The BlackTech Tower now dominated the tech district, its solar-powered facade and charging stations serving as a testament to Mason Blackwood's vision of sustainable innovation. Inside his office, Mason reviewed the latest quarterly reports with Sarah Chun, now BlackTech's chief technology officer. Their partnership had grown stronger over the years, evolving beyond professional collaboration into a deep friendship built on shared values and mutual respect. "The new battery plant in Arizona is ahead of schedule," Sarah reported, pulling up holographic projections. "Your father would have loved seeing his engine designs powering an entire generation of vehicles." Mason touched the framed photo on his desk, his father standing proudly beside the Mustang that had become a symbol of their company's transformation. The car itself, now a fully electric classic, still held its place of honor in the lobby, inspiring visitors with its blend of heritage and innovation. "Speaking of transformation," Sarah continued, "Sophia's latest project at Legacy Motors is making waves. She's partnered with Isabella Romano to restore her father's original prototype using our newest technology." Legacy Motors had flourished under Sophia Pierce Reynolds' leadership. The company specialized in converting classic luxury vehicles to electric power, preserving their historical significance while eliminating their environmental impact. Warren's former showroom had been transformed into an interactive museum, documenting the true history of automotive innovation. "Isabella sent these yesterday," Mason said, showing Sarah photos of the Romano prototype restoration. They found more of her father's original designs hidden in their family workshop. "The integration possibilities with our current systems are remarkable." The Romano family's redemption had become a cornerstone of BlackTech's European presence. Isabella's father's innovations, finally credited properly, had inspired a new generation of designers. The Romano Scholarship, funded by BlackTech, sent promising young engineers to study in Italy each year. A knock at the door interrupted their discussion. Carmen Martinez entered, carrying a tablet displaying the latest Initiative Future Fund statistics. "You'll want to see this," she said, her eyes bright with excitement. The first class of scholarship recipients is graduating next month. 87% already have job offers, most in sustainable technology fields. The fund, which had started with the proceeds from Warren's C-SCAR collection, had grown into one of the largest private STEM education initiatives in the country. Carmen's leadership had transformed it from a simple scholarship program into a comprehensive support system for underprivileged students. "How's the new mental health program working out?" Mason asked, remembering the dark days after Diana's betrayal. "Better than expected," Carmen replied. "Having counselors who understand the unique pressures of innovation and entrepreneurship has made a huge difference. Even some of our competitors are adopting similar programs." Rafe Martinez joined them, looking more relaxed than he had during the intense days of their revenge plan. His risk in supporting Black Tech's early days had paid off beyond anyone's expectations. "Just finished a call with our Asian partners," he announced. Marcus Chin's connections continue to pay dividends. The new supply chain network is revolutionizing how we source materials. Marcus Chun had become a key figure in Black Tech's international expansion. His experience and connections, combined with the company's ethical business practices, had created a model for sustainable global partnerships. Laura Kincaid called earlier, Rafe added. "The R&D department's latest project is ready for review. They're calling it Project Phoenix, something about rising from ashes." Laura's transformation of Black Tech's research division had attracted top talent from around the world. The exodus she had orchestrated from Pierce Motors years ago had evolved into a brain trust that consistently pushed the boundaries of innovation. Kyle Bennett, now retired from the Seattle PD and heading Black Tech's security division, appeared in the doorway. "Thought you might want to see this," he said, holding up his phone. "Just came across the wire." The news article detailed Warren Pierce's failed appeal of his federal conviction. After years of legal battles, he remained under house arrest in a modest apartment, a far cry from his former mansion. His attempts to rebuild his reputation had consistently failed as more evidence of his past crimes emerged. "Victoria sent this," Kyle continued, showing them another article. This one featured Diana, looking considerably older, teaching art at a small community college in Nevada. Apparently, she's finally found her calling. Small classes, modest lifestyle, but she's actually creating something of her own. Mason studied the photo thoughtfully. The bitterness he'd once felt had faded, replaced by a quiet satisfaction that justice had been served, not through destruction alone, but through creation and growth. Jessica Winters, whose investigative skills had been crucial to exposing Warren's crimes, had parlayed her experience into a successful consulting firm. She specialized in corporate transparency and ethics, using Black Tech as a case study in how companies could succeed through innovation rather than exploitation. "The new Innovation Center is packed again," Sarah mentioned, referring to the converted art gallery space. "Those young engineers you mentored last year? 3 of their projects are going into production." The center had become a hub for emerging talent, its walls lined with patents instead of paintings. Diana's former dream office now housed a state-of-the-art design lab where students turned ideas into reality. Trevor Nash had found redemption through his work with Black Tech's healthcare initiative. His son's autism treatment program had become a model for corporate healthcare, showing how companies could support employees' families while maintaining profitability. "Almost forgot," Carmen interjected. "The Legacy Motors Museum called. They want to do a special exhibit on ethical innovation, featuring the story of how Black Tech transformed the industry." The museum had become a popular destination, its displays contrasting Warren's era of corporate theft with a new age of collaborative innovation. The Mustang's journey from Mason's father's gift to symbol of technological revolution held a special place in the exhibition. Later that evening, Mason stood in the lobby, studying the restored Mustang. Its classic lines now house technology that would have seemed like science fiction 5 years ago. A group of engineering students gathered around it, their excited discussions about modification possibilities echoing through the space. "Mr. Blackwood?" One of the students approached him. I read about how this car inspired BlackTech's founding. Would you tell us the story? Mason smiled, remembering the garage where it all began. It's a story about choices he began, about how betrayal can either break you or transform you. But mostly, it's about building something meaningful from the ashes of disappointment. The students listened intently as Mason shared not just the history, but the lessons learned. He told them about the importance of integrity and innovation, the value of loyal friends, and the power of creating rather than destroying. Sophia joined them, having finished a board meeting at Legacy Motors. Teaching the next generation, she asked, her relationship with Mason having evolved into a strong professional partnership built on their shared experience of betrayal and redemption. Reminding myself, Mason replied, sometimes you need to look back to appreciate how far you've come. They discussed Legacy Motors' latest projects. The company had found its niche in preserving automotive history while advancing sustainable technology. Warren's former empire had been transformed into a force for positive change under his daughter's leadership. In the labs above them, Sarah's team worked on next-generation batteries that would make electric vehicles even more accessible. The technology that Warren had once dismissed as fantasy now powered a significant portion of the world's transportation. Marcus Chin's influence had helped establish a network of ethical suppliers across Asia, proving that successful business didn't require exploitation. His partnership with BlackTech had created a new model for international collaboration. Isabella Romano divided her time between Seattle and Italy, ensuring that both Legacy Motors and BlackTech maintained their commitment to innovation with integrity. Her father's restored prototype had become a symbol of vindication and progress. The BlackTech Foundation, under Carmen's guidance, had expanded beyond education into community development. Former Pierce Motors employees whose pensions Mason had saved now volunteered as mentors, sharing their expertise with the next generation. Ray's financial acumen had helped BlackTech grow while maintaining its ethical principles. The company's success had inspired other corporations to adopt similar practices, creating a ripple effect throughout the industry. Laura Kincaid's R&D department had become a magnet for innovative thinkers. The team's culture of collaboration and creativity stood in stark contrast to the restrictive environment she had left at Pierce Motors. Kyle Bennett's security protocols protected not just BlackTech's innovations, but its principles. His department worked closely with ethics committees to ensure that the company's growth never came at the cost of its values. Jessica Winters continued to investigate corporate misconduct, but now focused on prevention rather than exposure. Her firm's partnership with BlackTech helped other companies implement transparent business practices. Trevor Nash had found purpose in developing corporate wellness programs, turning his experience with his son's care into a model for supporting employees' families. The program he created at BlackTech had been adopted by companies worldwide. As the sun set over Seattle, its rays reflecting off BlackTech Tower's solar panels, Mason reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The betrayal that could have destroyed him had instead inspired the creation of something remarkable. The garage where he had once worked on his father's Mustang was now a historical landmark, preserved as a reminder that great achievements often start in humble places. The tools he had used still hung on the walls, maintained as carefully as the high-tech equipment that surrounded them. In the years since Warren's fall, Mason had discovered that true success wasn't measured in revenge achieved, but in lives improved. BlackTech's innovations had created jobs, funded education, and advanced sustainable technology. The company had become what he had always dreamed of building, a force for positive change in the world. Diana's art classes in Nevada had given her something she had never found in luxury: genuine purpose. Her student success brought her a satisfaction that clothes and society parties never had. The small gallery where she showcased student work meant more than the elaborate spaces she had once coveted. Warren, confined to his modest apartment, had become a case study in business ethics courses. His fall served as a warning about the consequences of choosing exploitation over innovation. The empire he had built through theft had been transformed into something he had never understood: a legacy of genuine creation. The evening ended with Mason in his office, adding another photo to his wall. This one showed the first graduating class of Initiative Future Fund scholars, their faces bright with possibility. Beside his father's picture, it represented the continuation of a dream, not of revenge, but of building something meaningful. The Mustang in the lobby below stood as a bridge between past and future, its classic form housing technology that pointed toward tomorrow. Like Mason himself, it had been transformed by circumstance, but never lost its essential character. 5 years had turned a story of revenge into one of redemption, proving that the best response to betrayal isn't destruction, but creation. Mason Blackwood had built more than a business empire. He had created a legacy of innovation, integrity, and positive change that would outlast any desire for vengeance. As Seattle's lights twinkled to life, the Black Tech Tower stood as a beacon of what was possible when talent met integrity, when betrayal led to building rather than breaking. The story that had begun in a humble garage had become a legend of transformation, not just of a man or a company, but of an entire industry's understanding of what success truly meant. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.